What's up gamers, DreamcastGuy here, reviewing today Tom Clancy's The Division. I just spent 14 hours online with the game and wanted to give my first impressions on what I think of it so far. Our story opens with a devastating scene of chaos. A mysterious organization has unleashed a deadly plague in New York City, wiping out 99% of the population. Those left alive are now trapped in a city on lockdown, but they aren't alone. Insanely dangerous gangs have split up the town amongst themselves, each ruling their own territory with brutal force. As a member of the Division, we're part of a secret group of soldiers who are called upon when every other option has failed. With the police dead, the army withdrawing, and people being killed in the street, it's time for us to gear up and jump into action. This game, at its heart, is a strange mix of hardcore cover-based shooter and an open-world RPG. While most of the gameplay is all about sticking behind walls and picking off enemies, the true key to survival is leveling up your own custom character in a smart way and unlocking the best abilities. At the beginning, we're assigned the task of establishing a main headquarters, a place to move civilians, and to build a lab so doctors can start working on a cure for the virus. Doing this isn't as easy as it sounds. The terrorists who have taken over are well armed, properly trained, and not planning on leaving without a fight. Every mission has you trying to conquer a different area, and by successfully clearing out buildings, you essentially get two kinds of experience points. By just killing bad guys or completing objectives, you'll naturally level up, but depending on what side quests you take on determines what upgrades will be unlocked back at base. For example, here I am breaking into a shopping mall trying to find a purified sample of contaminated money to test out the plague. By collecting the cash and defeating the boss, I got a big boost in experience and also points that could be spent at the medical wing at headquarters. Spending these credits is how you gain access to your character's various skill trees and extra talents. These abilities can range from healing grenades to robot turrets or even more interesting things like creating a bubble around yourself that makes everybody have increased critical damage for 30 seconds. This system of having to explore and find quests to build up your hero is interesting, but it can unfortunately become rather repetitive quickly. The problem is nearly every mission plays exactly the same, and to top it off, even the enemies look almost identical. While it does seem possible to beat the entire story by yourself, forming a party with friends can make these firefights a lot more fun. At any time, you can open up the matchmaking menu and select what you want to team for. Here you can choose a specific mission and it'll automatically find you other people that are doing it at the same time. Having a couple people on headsets all moving in unison to drop a giant flame-throwing madman is awesome, but it also highlights the biggest issue with the game overall. The damage is far too low. Since this is an RPG above all else, the Division handles everything with dice rolls, meaning that my huge machine gun can blast someone point blank in the head 10 or 20 times with little effect if it doesn't have amazing stats. Weapons all have a range of how badly they can hurt something, and even if you go on the high end of the scale, most guns still feel like pea shooters. Why is it that someone hitting me with an axe does more damage than my shotgun going off in their face? In a game that has such a harsh, realistic setting, the combat can feel cartoonishly out of place, especially as you shoot hundreds of bullets into a regular human being. I think they need to balance this out by having headshots hit 15 times harder than they currently do. This would really reward careful aiming and also make encounters a lot faster. Thankfully, the story in The Division is so intriguing that I never got too annoyed with the 10-minute long boss fights, and I always found myself eager to discover the next big clue. The plot is primarily told through audio logs. These reveal a deep, twisted tale about the scientists who managed to craft a flawless bioweapon and their motivations for unleashing it on millions of innocent civilians. I don't want to spoil anything more about the story, but I will say that it's surprisingly well acted and some of the things we learn are downright disturbing. When you're ready to take a break from these main missions, you can delve into the hardest area of all, the Dark Zone. This is located in the center of the map, and it's here that the plague hit first. The infection spread fast, and virtually no one survived the onslaught. All that's left is the most brutal of enemies. If you dare to explore this area, it's well worth it because the absolute best guns, armor, and weapon modifications can be found inside. Getting out alive, though, can be extremely tough. In the dark zone, anyone can attack you, even other players. Whenever you stumble upon an item, it's put in a special yellow bag on the outside of your backpack. Since everything here is contaminated, you need to carry this pouch to an extraction point so it can be airlifted away and safely cleaned. If you die while carrying one of these yellow bags, it drops on the ground and anyone can pick it up. This basically makes you a walking target every second it takes you to fire off a flare and wait for the chopper to come and get it. I really love the Dark Zone because of its pure insanity. The constant war that goes on is fantastic, and it lets you show off all the great abilities that you've unlocked. Well, that is unless the servers crash. Due to the fact that this is an online-only title, any small hiccup in connectivity immediately kicks you out of the game. That's right, even if you're doing a single-player mission or watching a cutscene, as soon as there's any sort of problem, you get the boot. In the last 24 hours, the Division has gone down 5 times. While I'm sure this is just because it's a big launch day, it's still a little bit of a hassle to deal with. At one point, I actually had a quest completely glitch out because Uplay went down right as I was turning it in. I ended up having to join a friend's party and wait for them to turn in the mission, that way I could get myself unstuck. I also ran into quite a bit of bullet lag. Sometimes you'll land that perfect headshot on an enemy, only to have them run around for another 5 seconds until they randomly fall over dead. It seems they didn't properly prepare their servers. Okay, so we've heard some good and some bad, but let's head over to the ratings board and put a big number on it. I am giving Tom Clancy's The Division a 7 out of 10. While many of the RPG elements of this game are brilliantly designed, that doesn't save it from being an incredibly slow-paced shooter. If you're a huge fan of open-world games and you want something new to dive into, I do recommend this game. However, I suggest that you wait at least a month, that way they can come out with some patches and fix all these problems. Thanks so much for watching, gamers. This has been DreamcastGuy with another review. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming. Thanks so much for watching. If you liked this video, maybe check out my last video. Please subscribe, and if you want, share this somewhere with your friends.